Hey, this is Notser, and this is the Tier 8 Premium Soviet cruiser, Mikhail Kutuzov. He has 40,700 health, a top speed of 33 knots, 12 152mm guns, 10 torpedoes, a surface detect of 11.1 kilometers, and 65 AA defense rating. For my modules, reduce crit chance on main armament, improved aiming accuracy, reduce the chance of flood and fire, improved acceleration, concealment. For my commander, priority target, adrenaline rush, superintendent, demolition expert, inertia fuse, high explosive, and concealment again. We're on the map Mountain Range, and this is going to be an Anchors Aweigh. Two great games in this beauty. It's one of the best ships in the game. By far, one of the best ships in the game. It performs its role so well, and its role is a destroyer hunter. And it also lights a lot of fires, has great defensive fire, has the ability to use smoke, its gun range is extremely high. It's really powerful. It's really powerful. Now, in this game, I headed off to C Point. I told my team I'm going to go for C and try and hunt down one of the destroyers. There are 4, and most likely it is an even distribution. 1 per objective, and then maybe 1 more on some objective. We see that there are 2 spotted over by A. There's 1 spotted by B, which I'm engaging right now. And did you just catch that on the minimap? At the time, I was so preoccupied, do damage to the enemy destroyer. But there is indeed an enemy in Leningrad in the vicinity, and he hasn't moved to stop me from capturing it. They just let me capture. Nobody was going to be aggressive enough moving forward, and you know what? That works for me. That little tiny island actually blocks a ton of torpedoes. There's not a lot of line of sight for the torpedoes to interrupt my ability to capture. And the Atlantas doing what Atlantas do best. They're hiding behind islands, and they're manipulating their gun velocity to engage targets. I am going to give ground and attempt to kill the Leningrad. There are 2 targets that are actually trying to do damage. One is the Atlanta. The other one is probably the Leningrad, right? So we're giving ground. The friendly North Carolina has already run aground, and I'm going to run aground too. And I was wondering, does it destroy? No, it's a solid object. We would have absolutely destroyed that little, I don't know what it would be. It's not even a dock. It's just so small. It looks like supplies were sitting there. I don't know. Either way, I pull a Notser, of course, and enemy guy lets me know he pulled a Notser. It's always a pleasure to play with you guys. That's the best part about this. And oh, here he comes, Dr. Puffin. Well, Dr. Puffin, it's a little aggressive for you. I have the advantage with my guns. I just have to aim correctly. And he returns fire. He does a little bit of damage. I do a little bit more damage to him. And it's going to be even more damage. He's going to have to pop his smoke, which he does. But while he's popping his smoke, he's slowing down. So I draw on the shot, and I fire directly at him. And we do another 2,000, 3,000. I'm not afraid to engage other targets. I just am not. The Atlanta is probably behind the island. He was compensating by backing up. He backed up too quick. Now he doesn't have line of sight. The enemy Leningrad is firing on me, and I do have my smoke, so I'm going to use it. And we're going to see how well we can do damage to the North Carolina while the Leningrad refuses to leave the smoke. I do have the benefit of a friendly spotting torpedoes on the left side of that island, but also the island itself. It's going to protect me. Now, it's also going to prevent me from sending the torpedoes directly at the target that I want to, but I'm going to be able to do just enough damage that I don't really care. So the North Carolina, he's taking a little bit of fire. I would like to burn his bow. I don't know if he's using fire prevention. It looks like he has the center, the superstructure, on fire. But the bow and the stern completely void of fire. And oh, here's the real prize. Enemy in Leningrad. And we set a fire on that guy, by the way. So maybe it's a 3rd fire on him. But who cares? It's about killing the destroyer. And we take out his steering. Oh man, it's just really difficult. He's taken out by the friendly. There's really no chance. Whenever a team has a 2-to-1 advantage All they have to do is sit back and wait for the enemy team to try to do something. And if that enemy team is caught out, or they don't have enough destroyers to really break apart the enemy's defenses, it's going to be a real challenge. I don't care how good you are, all this smoke is hiding a lot of people. There's not enough radar and torpedoes on the enemy team to counter it. So the enemy North Carolina is taken out. The enemy Izmo, he pulled a Notser, and he's perfectly broadside. So we're going to fire off one more salvo of HE and switch to AP. And it's going to be doing a lot of damage. This is inertia fuse, high explosive, and it's doing 6,000 per salvo. The AP probably going to do just about the same. Maybe it could do slightly higher. In this instance, it's probably better to fire HE. If you can do that much HE damage with the hot inertia fuse and the chance to light the target on fire, that's the one part of the game I'm not really comfortable with just yet. Deciding when to fire HE and when to fire AP when you bring up the level of HE so much that, honestly, it's very rare that I notice the AP damage output over the HE plus the fire. Of course, you switch to the destroyer. Nothing matters until all the destroyers are taken out on the enemy team. Unfortunately, we lose the friendly Akatsuki, who was spotting him out. And he's dark, completely dark. I'm not going to waste the salvo, though. Work on the Prince. So this is my regular Tier 8 Soviet cruiser. I also have it on the Chapayev, and you'll probably see a Chapayev game in the near future with this exact same build. I will have one extra point, so I'll have 2 points unspent. I don't really know a good skill to take. I really don't. Expert Marksman is going to give me 1 or 2 seconds. The turrets traverse really quickly already. You got High Alert. High Alert's going to give me 4 or 5 seconds on my damage control. Jack of all trades is very tiny as well. And in fact, I don't really have enough smoke charges to bring it up so much. This is with Superintendent, I believe. I want to say, yeah. So we're overextended over here. Clearly, there's an enemy Mogami, a Prince, and a enemy Destroyer. 2 of them are firing from the smoke. I have no way to spot them. If I was the Chapayev, I could absolutely spot them, but I wouldn't have smoke. So it's really a push. Both skills are going to give you a lot of potential damage output. It's just trying to make sure you use the strengths of your ship. My ship cannot detect the smoke, and thankfully the smoke dissipated on its own, or they left it. I don't know why they would leave it, though. It was a huge advantage to them. Either way, I'm going to try and angle as best as I can while firing my HE, and it just does so much damage to the guy. Even when I miss most of my shells, it still is doing thousands and thousands of damage. And he's going to die. He's just going to die straight up. And the friendlies are able to finish him off. There is still an enemy Mogami over in this sector. And the destroyer is way too far away. He's so far away. I'm trying to bait out the Mogami, honestly, to want to engage me. And yeah. There's no reason I could ever engage him effectively. Why even try? But the Mogami doesn't know that. The Mogami is probably just assuming that I can easily take him out. I just want you, Mogami. I really want you. To kill you, of course. Not to praise you or anything like that. I just want to eliminate you from the map. And it's a naked Mogami, I think, or it could be green. I can't really tell. The sun is sort of setting, and it's casting a yellow hue on the ship itself. It could be naked, or it could be wearing green, and the green is sort of tan now. Either way, we're landing a lot of shots. That's a really weird comment. Either way, we're landing a lot of shots. He's got, I think, 2 fires on him. And his stern and his bow. Those are the parts of the ship. Oh, well, now it's just the bow. The bow is the only part of the ship that isn't on fire. And it looks like he wants to escape behind the island, which I don't blame him. He also put the fire out. So the immunity is going to last probably that salvo and no longer. And whoa, there's a lot more firepower coming from there than just the enemy of Mogami. That reads as an Atlanta. And yep, it's an Atlanta. I don't want to go after the Atlanta and the Mogami. I need to rush to the island to use it as a line-of-sight blocker. I'm always surprised when my opponents or my allies don't use the islands to their advantage. They're there for a reason. If I have to rush into an island area, and I did this on the Tirpitz, I do this a lot, actually. I try to incorporate it. Have a feeling to eliminate most of the opposition except that one person you're going after. So it's a 1 versus 1 in your sector of the map. It might not appear that way, but if you really look at the way the islands are situated and you do a visual scan, most of the enemy can't engage me. They're either too far away or they're behind an island, and I make a huge mistake. I popped my smoke inadvertently in an effort to use my defensive fire. That could cost me. We'll have to see. The team is going to capture B, though, and I want that Mogami dead. So I'm going to try and rotate around the island and surprise them. We'll see how well the surprise works out. The friendlies are working on the enemy Mogami, and I think he's trying to back up to get back behind the island. The best thing you could do is probably just rotate quickly and then duck back in the island just north of the position they're at right now. But not everyone's going to play the game the same way. And maybe he thought, I can come to a complete stop and back up in time. Well, he's taken a lot of damage for that, and he's showing a perfect broadside. So I am going to fire everything. And this time, I'm not switching. I'm going to fire HE all the way, and it should theoretically do enough to kill him, and it just misses out. The fire does, and we showed way too much of our side. Way too much of our side. The greed. The greed was so real. I was trying to kick out from the island so it wouldn't cut off some of my back guns from doing damage. Well, when I did that, I wasn't paying as much attention to the angling against the target, and his small 155mm guns could penetrate me very easily by showing too much of my side. What I should have done is, as I was moving away, as I could confirm 100% that the shell was going to be able to clear the island, I should have hardened that angle against the target until I was at the max angle of my ship while maintaining all 4 gun turrets on the target. And I could even swivel back and forth, but I just lost concentration in that moment. I didn't believe he was good enough to get the shot off. That is the problem when you believe you should be able to take this person 1 versus 1, no matter who it is. You do need the confidence to do a play that does put your ship at somewhat of a risk. If I'm not willing to be out in the open for 5 or 10 seconds, I don't get over to that island to use it against my opponents, right? Same with the Tirpitz, same with so many games. If I'm not willing to risk damage to the ship, it's not going to be rewarded in my position later on. I would rather risk the damage so I can get in a much better position. Maybe it breaks them out, forces them to engage other friendly ships. It's really hard to deal with 2 different flanks. 90 degrees, 2 allies who are 90 degrees apart from an opposition. There's not a safe angle he can do. He could sort of minimize the damage to both, but it's not going to be as good as if it was 1 versus 1. Now, my team, I believe confidently that they can finish this off. I am worried that the Atlanta might try and send torpedoes towards the Belfast, but I'm not going to communicate that. I want this person to do it on their own. I don't feel comfortable telling people what to do. Outside of good teamwork, focus this target, I'm doing this, doing that. I'm not going to lead him through this engagement. He has to make the mistakes for himself. And he's doing a great job. He might be undershooting just a little bit for the Citadels, a little greedy, but it doesn't really matter. He had such a huge health advantage, and honestly, he's in a better ship. The Belfast is better than the Atlanta, in my opinion. He should be fine. And of course, the AP bounces off the Friedrich der Grosse's rear, and this should be the kill shot. And it is. Good job, team. The team did a good job. We focused on B and C. When they saw that A could not be taken, we just enhanced our position on the eastern flank. Now I earned Confederate, 1 kill, 2,315 base XP, Most of my damage was HE, either from fires or the HE shell itself. And this ship can do it. The income's great. You saw that income. That's a lot of cheddar, right? Exactly. But that's not the only game. Yes, we have another game, and we're in the same ship. We are on the map Two Brothers, and I think I'm top tier on this one. The last one I was mid-tier, but it doesn't really matter. If you're hiding in smoke, it's free damage either way. And again, we are engaging targets at long range or semi-long range, and my goal is pretty simple. Fire HE, set them on fire, and hope that I do good damage. I think it's the right way to play this ship. Most people agree. Some people might go, hey, Notser, why don't you go in the smoke? What's your theory on smoke? Well, to me, smoke is really reserved for when I can guarantee the full cycle damage, or I feel like it's necessary to protect myself. I'm not afraid of a Pensacola. Nobody should be afraid of a Pensacola. So I'm not going to pop my smoke in that scenario. I also don't have enough charges to use it willy-nilly. This is with Superintendent, or is it with Superintendent? I think it is. I think that's the whole point of the ship. You don't really get a lot of charges. So it is important that you use it sparingly, and when you only need it, absolutely only when you need it to protect yourself or to succeed doing massive amount of damage. So my team captures A. The enemy team is clearly pushing D point. I was able to shoot down the aircraft that was spotting me. I didn't even have to use defensive fire. And why am I using defensive fire? There's no aircraft carriers on North America. There will be. There's just going to be. And some ships are better than others at defensive fire work. I'm going to try and keep the Americans and the Soviets in that role because they do have radar. That does help. And then speaking of radar, there's an enemy destroyer on the far western flank. He never went for A. He gave up on it. And instead, he's trying to kick out all the way against the island. Friendlies are able to detect the torpedoes, and I'm going to obviously avoid them. A couple stragglers are showing up on this flank, and I'm not going to complain. Interesting Fuso over there. This could be a potential smoke location. I would like to see if I can get a little bit of angle on this cruiser over here to assist my friendly destroyer. He's not going to have a good time. We set one fire on the enemy Fuso. We'll let it burn. Most likely he's just going to allow it to exist for a while. But first of all, let's save our teammate. That's the key here. So he's showing a perfect broadside. Oh, does the teammate really need me? No. Oh man, the teammate does need me. Man, he died. Is this guy ever going to soften his angle? Maybe. I've got AP. Come on. Soften it. Soften it. This is the most dangerous position I could be in at this very moment. 3 enemy ships. In fact, there's a 4th, but 4 ships are within spitting distance of me, and I'm just refusing to pop my smoke. It's extremely dangerous. Extremely. And for whatever reason, we hit a torpedo. Now, we flood out the enemy. Ah, wow. He was very close to dying then. And I pull back. I get lucky in this scenario. It took the Fuso too long. The Pensacola, the enemy Benson, didn't want to deal with me at all. This is all free damage for me, and I'm thankful. Still haven't popped my smoke. Maybe I could, but anytime a destroyer is willing to show himself, I'm going to feel more interested in showing himself to everyone else by not being in smoke. Once I can confirm, though, that he did indeed willingly show himself, I pop my smoke, because he's going to be spotted for 10-20 seconds while he fires his guns to someone else. That's really an important criteria if you're looking to hunt down destroyers. We get a nice citadel on the Pensacola. He recognizes, oh, baby, I need to angle. He goes inward, port side, switch back to HE. And I don't know that this salvo is going to kill him. And you notice that Fuso, he's moving towards me ever so slowly. He is moving towards me. And I have torpedoes for self-defense. We take out the Pensacola with a nice 3,000 salvo. Friendlies are trying to send torpedoes. I don't want him to auto-spot me. We get another fire on the target. He's just not in a position where he's going to have a successful engagement. And I don't know where that shot was. It was a... I don't know what I was doing there. And is he going to die to torpedo? Probably. Yeah. Now there's only a Benson on this flank. And yes, we know he's over there. So the ship's pretty good. Wow, he got so close that he was just detected on distance. He didn't expect me to come out of the smoke that quick. Well, I'm just going to rush into his smoke. It's aggressive. Absolutely, it's aggressive. But it's the only way to successfully deal with the destroyer there and now. Rush into the smoke. Use your agility to your advantage to avoid the torpedoes. Now, he did send torpedoes probably... Well, they're there. His torpedoes are up right now. He doesn't have anything. He's got nothing. And we're just going to just quickly push into him. Never allow him the safety that he desires. He's not going to ever be unspotted ever again. We're just going to kill him outright. And we walk around as he wiggles back and forth. If the target wiggles on an axis, just fire directly at the axis. It looks like we did indeed predict enough. The whole rotating around the axis, if you recognize quick enough that he is indeed just maneuvering back and forth in a pre-planned pattern, fire directly at him. If you see that he is considering your shot and maneuvering after, you need to sort of bait him to commit his rudder, so it takes him a long time to rotate it back. That's the best way I can describe it. And once you've learned how to compensate for either strategy, it's really easy to do damage. Oh, look at here. We have an enemy Edinburgh. The Edinburgh comes back to try and defend himself, but it's not going to be very good for you, my friend. So I've got HE loaded. I switched to AP. Probably take a little bit too much damage there, but I'm getting into a position that I can use against him. Get up against the islands. Fire on a broadside target if he's going to be broadside. Don't allow him the satisfaction to set up into a comfortable position. If you can push the tempo and feel comfortable, most likely the enemy is not going to be able to deal with that tempo. It's just like any other game. If you can conceive a strategy and you've performed it before and you're comfortable with it, if you can work through it quicker than he can react to it, you're going to be able to overwhelm him. And it seems like he wants to come around and torpedo me. I try one salvo at the waterline. The island is blocking, so instead I send a narrow spread, and my back gun is not in position. The back guns could hit him, but the front guns just can't. And he's kind of screwed. Nowhere to go, Mr. Edinburgh. Devastating strike on him. Expect torpedoes. Be careful. Double, triple check. Once we can confirm there are no torpedoes, then we can move on and capture the sea point. When in doubt, double and triple check. Quadruple check. This is the only way you could fail. The torpedoes are the only way you can fail in that scenario. And the enemy, they fought valiantly, but their enemy team just didn't hold out the western flank. They just couldn't. We didn't give them a chance to, if I'm going to be completely honest. And this enemy destroyer is very low, and I wanted to kill him, and of course he drops off right as I send him as target. I'm going to go right back to the enemy Bayern, who pulled a Notser. It's contagious, what can I say? You never know when an island is going to try and grab you. You got to be careful, always vigilant. And every shot, I'm looking for the destroyer to show back up. That is the goal. And once the destroyer does show up, he's so low that I just chain fire just to get one or two shots on him. That's all I'm looking for. Very straightforward. And this guy, he's having a bad day. he ran into the island again. He probably was really excited to start moving because he noticed that enemies were on his flank, firing at him. The enemy tried to drop torpedoes. Thankfully, the friendly had aircraft scouted out, and I'm going to just angle away from them. Trying to get the last shot on the enemy Bayern. We don't. The North Carolina dies in the same moment, and our team wins the game. Just like that, we've earned a lot of credits. 1.1 million. Kraken Unleashed, devastating strike, 5 kills, 126,000 points of damage done. It's a good ship, what can I say? Built well, played well. You should find a lot of success. And we're using the Gamescom 2016 camouflage, if you're wondering. That's why our credit income is so high in both of these games. We've earned 2,312 base XP. Great job. Farragut did a good job for our team too. Well, most of our team did a great job. This is a little bit more spread out. 56,000 in main battery, 39,000 in torpedoes, 29,000 in fires. Very even. I hope you enjoyed both of these games. I definitely did. It's a great ship. I love the purchase. I hope you enjoyed these games. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you next time.